Hello, everyone, and welcome to the very much belated GTHub podcast. I am everyone, and welcome to the and joining me for this recap of things is Rob97, also known as Rob. Yes. And on today's program, we will be doing a belated recap of the F1 action from Austria and the British Grand Prix, and as also the IMSA racing from Watkins Glen, the 6 hours or Salem 6 hours of Glen, and also the past weekend's action at the track formerly known as Mosport, as well as some Indycar racing from the cornfields of Iowa. So, without further ado, let's get into it.
Sounds lovely.
Yes, one of those you might not have seen. Yeah.
Yes. Right. So
I'm guessing it might be the one that involved being in your homeland. Yeah.
Yes, I think that was the one which I never actually got round to watching.
Right. Anyway, but first we will start with the Austrian GP, or rather, the officially known as the I-Time Austrian Grand Prix from the Red Bull Ring in the beautiful Austrian countryside.
Yes, or Das große Preis von Österreich. At the track formerly known as Das Österreichring. And that's me speaking German already, which means meine Deutsche ist gut, and that's a load of.
Oh, jeez.
Yes, we've already managed to get it in there.
He's already managed to get that button in, and he's barely had it, so well done to him on that front.
Thanks to my family at home, and thanks to them for getting me this as a birthday present.
Yes. Qualifying for the Austrian Grand Prix, we had Valtteri Bottas on pole ahead of Lewis Hamilton to make a Mercedes front row. And the time of 1 minute 3.130 was a new track record. And for impeding Carlos Sainz Jr. in Q2, and then he had to start sixth after qualifying third. And almost immediately there was drama from the offing in the Austrian Alps as Nico Hülkenberg decided to kill the entire mosquito population there by having a massive engine failure, or power unit failure rather, as you're supposed to call them, on lap 12 coming across the start-finish line of the race. So that put a dampening on what was looking like a very decent run for the Renault man. And afterwards, just 3 laps after the fact, Valtteri Bottas would be the first of the major runners to come into trouble, because he would retire with loss of hydraulic pressure that would stick his gearbox into neutral. So he pulled over slightly afterwards, and that would bring out a virtual safety car. And that was just a omen for what was to come with that, really, because on lap 54, the Red Bulls entered into calamity hour with Daniel Ricciardo retiring. And then just 2 laps later, the Toro Rosso Brendan Hartley had something go wrong as well. So he fell out. Considering the streak of bad luck for Brendan Hartley. And the final DNF of the day would be the biggest story to come out of the weekend, which was Lewis Hamilton falling out on lap 63.
Some of the comments on Twitter were so salty after that.
What? You're
So-
saying Hamilton fans being salty? I don't believe it.
Oh my! And the amount of abuse which they were giving the Mercedes team, and some fans claiming, "Oh no, the season's over," and I'm just reading it, thinking, like, shut up.
Yes.
Like, if you're saying that when mathematically we're not even halfway through the season, and you're saying the season's over, you might want. I think, some reconsideration into what sport into this might be needed.
Yes.
Was quite funny reading it though.
Yeah, well, salty fans are always the best. But as a result of Hamilton falling out, it was the first time since Spain at 2016 that there was a double DNF for Mercedes, so they would leave with no points. And that would hand Ferrari the Constructors' Championship lead, as well as Sebastian Vettel leaving with the point lead. So Ferrari had a very great weekend in the Austrian Alps. As did the Haas's of Romain Grosjean and Kevin Magnussen, who came home 4th and 5th.
They done good.
And also, coincidentally, in Haas's 50th Grand Prix. So, yeah. Grosjean scoring his first points of the season, and that put Haas into 5th in the constructor standings, just behind Renault in 4th. Behind Vettel in the win was... Actually, no, behind Max Verstappen, rather, with the win on home serve for Aston Martin Red Bull Racing, was Kimi Räikkönen and Sebastian Vettel. Grosjean was 4th, Magnussen was 5th. Esteban Ocon was the first Sahara Force India in 6th. 7th was Sergio Perez. 8th was Fernando Alonso, and another dismal effort for McLaren there. And it was a brilliant double points day for the Alfa Romeo Saubers of Charles Leclerc and Marcus Ericsson. So, Charles Leclerc shining once again in the car that was supposed to be the worst car in the field, but is consistently outscoring McLaren's, it seems.
Well, that's because all the stuff which McLaren have been saying over the years lately about, if we get better engines, we're going to win the title, or stuff like that. It turns out that their chassis design was maybe not quite as good as what they had originally expected it to be, and I think they've actually come on the record and said that this year's car actually makes less downforce than last year's car. It's always a good sign.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I mean, it can't be that bad considering they're ahead of the Williamses that are just hopeless, beyond hopeless.
Yeah, I mean, the only way that Williams is going to be moving up the order is if they actually ditch it and replace it with a new car. So that's not until next year.
Not going to happen. Yeah, well, even then, that's a bit iffy. That car is so broken. I don't know how they're supposed to build a new car for next season based off of the complete failure of the 2018 car. Yeah.
Well, either way, if there is a positive for Williams, it can't get any worse.
Well, I mean, I guess they're technically at the bottom of the constructors' table, so I guess it really couldn't get any worse.
No, I think Kubica said in an interview that his two favourite parts on the car were the engine and the Martini paint scheme.
Well, he'll be very sad because one of those bits is leaving. Yeah.
Yes, is that Martini by any chance?
Yes.
Yes.
The bit that kept money in the team is leaving. So, yeah.
In fairness, though, at least Stroll's daddy has a lot of money.
Yes, but for how long does he stay with floundering Williams? Yeah.
What, and try and buy a ride somewhere else?
Well, he does have a lot of cash, and he does have that sweet, sweet JCB money, so, yeah.
Yeah.
Also, the fact that going back to McLaren rather quickly, there was speaking of the bad season they've had. It was a night of the long. My metaphors failed already. Let's try this again. It was a very bloody coup that happened behind the scenes at McLaren leading into the Austrian Grand Prix.
Yes. Is this to do with those extortionately overpriced small chocolate bars they've been giving their staff?
Would that be Fredogate? Yeah.
Fredogate, yes. 30 pence for one of those bleeding things.
Well, not just the chocolates for doing well, but the first ceremonial head has been chopped at McLaren.
Surprised it took them this long, to be honest.
Well, it had to do with Eric Boulier, who was pretty much blamed for everything in preseason testing. And surprise, surprise, he's gone.
Yes.
In a rather unceremonious way of, basically him just being told to leave before the Grand Prix, and even then, without much notice. And the surprise appointment in his place, well, actually not even in his place, in a new position created by McLaren, was Gilles de Ferran.
Good friend of Fernando's, I hear.
Well, Fernando couldn't be drawn as to whether or not that was his doing, but yeah, probably means it was, which means he's probably not going to leave anytime soon. So, yeah. Also does point to the fact that McLaren is coming to Indycar. Gilles de Ferran has been brought on to be the sporting director, or whatever his position is.
Something or other.
Something important, because he was on the pit wall this weekend. So, yeah. McLaren to Indycar is happening, and Fernando will stay with McLaren. It's pretty much it's going to happen there. They fired Eric Boulier, and they're blaming everything on him. So, yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens, really. But it's going to be a lot of soul-searching within them, because they've already admitted it's going to take about 2 to 10 years, I think is what they had said, to start fighting for titles.
Yeah. I can't really see McLaren fighting for a title all that soon, I don't think.
I'd be shocked if they could even be in with a shot at winning. Really. Their car just isn't good. And, yeah, that's the biggest problem. They can't blame the engine, because Red Bull and Renault have shown good pace with their cars and the engine. So there's one thing that's consistent between the two. And the one complaint they had with one of the main complaints, rather, that they had with Honda was that they couldn't benchmark themselves off of anyone. So now that they have the same customer unit, there's nowhere left for them to hide, really.
Oh, yes, it's amazing.
It's amazing to see how far they can slide back. But the good news is they can't be last, because Williams already has that, so...
Yeah.
All tied up nicely, neatly in a bow. Yeah, but sticking with the F1 coverage, the F1 portion of our show, we'll segue into the next round of the championship. That was held at Silverstone for the Rolex British Grand Prix. And that happened to... Yeah, well, Silverstone, what more can you say, really? A very brown Silverstone, actually.
Yes, for those wondering quite why the grass at the trackside was like that, it hasn't actually really rained for a bit over 2 weeks now here in the UK. We're still in the midst of a bit of a heat wave, and yes, it's coincided quite nicely with everything falling apart, with the government and England doing surprisingly well in the football.
I'm not even going to comment on that. But okay.
Not bad considering the whole "it's coming home" thing was meant as a joke, because we
It's not
didn't
coming
actually.
home.
Well, that's the thing, you see. It was meant as a joke because everyone was like, "Oh, yeah, it's coming home. Yeah, that's how the press are going to big it up." But now that we're actually through to the semi-finals, it's a case of, "Oh God, it might actually happen at this rate."
Sure. So you say, yeah. But yes, getting back to something that isn't World Cup related, because yeah, I can't be bothered to talk about the World Cup.
It's awesome.
Yeah, well, it was Sebastian Vettel who, well, not Sebastian Vettel. It was actually what, Lewis Hamilton who was on pole. Very
Probably.
uncertain. I think it was a Mercedes. I can't remember. Sebastian Vettel ended up winning the race after a late dive on the inside at Brooklyn to pass Valtteri Bottas and his Mercedes to drive away with the win. And it was pretty much set up for the fact that the last caution, or last safety car came out rather, due to the fact that Romain Grosjean and Carlos Sainz Jr. had a coming together?
Yes, they did later on in the race after Ericsson's accident.
Yes, Marcus Ericsson being the brave boy who decided to go flat out through turn 1 with the DRS. Yeah.
Yeah.
Funny how that doesn't work. Very high speed turn with no downforce on it. Yeah, that kind of does not work out very well. But yeah,
should do in qualifying.
Well, arguable. But there were 2 safety car periods of the day. However, the race started with a coming together between Lewis Hamilton and Kimi Räikkönen, which sent Lewis Hamilton all the way back to 17th on the opening lap, and from there on in set him about complaining that his car was broken and that it wasn't working. Yeah. Even though he recovered, ironically enough, from being that far back down to finishing second and on the podium. So, yeah. Car very much not broken, just him whinging again.
Well, that's just Hamilton being Hamilton, to be honest.
Well, it's just true. Funnily enough, Kimi Räikkönen was also on the podium after having a 10-second penalty for hitting Hamilton. So they came back together again, in a sense.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, it's very ironic, yes. But with the tire strategy playing off, or not paying off for the Mercedes of Valtteri Bottas, he ended up just off the podium in 4th. Daniel Ricciardo was 5th in the Aston Martin Red Bull Racing Tag Heuer. 6th was Nico Hülkenberg, the best for Renault. 7th was Esteban Ocon in Sahara Force India Mercedes. 8th was, surprise, I think you can guess who this might be.
8th place. It was not Leclerc because his wheel came off. Not Grosjean, I don't think. Van Dorn?
No, Stiffy Van Dormiers did not place in the points. It was a McLaren, though. It was Fernando Alonso in 8th again, yes.
Is he going to claim this as his best 8th place finish ever?
Well, I don't know about that, but it's definitely another 8th place finish on his resume. Yeah, in a McLaren.
Oh boy, I've got some interesting data from IMSA to mention later.
Oh, excellent. Well, we'll get to IMSA in a minute. But yes, Fernando Alonso finished 8th yet again in a McLaren. 9th was Kevin Magnussen, bringing home some points for Haas in what was supposed to be a good run for them. However, the two Haas teammates collided on the opening lap, so that put a dampening on that. And initially, in 10th was Pierre Gasly, bringing home a point for Scuderia Toro Rosso, but he was penalized later for hitting Sergio Perez as he passed him, so that elevated Perez into the final point position. Yes. And as a result of Sebastian Vettel winning, he extends his point lead over Hamilton to 8 points, and Kimi Räikkönen is now 55 points behind in 3rd. This also means Ferrari holds a 20-point lead over Mercedes in the constructors' standings. And Haas has fallen further behind Renault now. So they are at least 5th. So, yeah.
It's very interesting. Of course, I was paying absolutely no attention to it because, well,
you were a bit busy. Yeah.
Yeah.
You were doing something more important. Yeah.
Yeah, covering actual proper racing.
Yes.
Yeah. Although, then again, the biggest drama from Silverstone actually came from the Formula 2 race.
Yes. I was wondering when you would bring this up.
Oh, God.
Would you care to share this information that was a very, very big surprise for most of us, yeah, because we didn't bother seeing the Formula 2, yeah.
Yes. So the first Formula 2 race, absolutely nobody watched because there was the small matter of England versus Sweden in the World Cup, and you can actually hear from the trackside ambient audio recording equipment the precise moment England score, because it actually drowns out the cars. So yeah, in the second race, Santino Ferrucci ran his teammate a little bit wide at turn 4, and then after the race decided to hit his teammate Arjun Mani, and then he was also observed earlier going from the support paddock to the race pits with one of his gloves off, and the hand which he had the glove off was holding a mobile telephone. So the net result is a €66,000 fine, a 4-race ban, so that's 2 rounds, and it also reports that him and his father were being racist and towards Arjun Mani and his family.
Ooh, I didn't know about that bit.
Yes, that's the bit there. Ferrucci then tried to claim that he'd done absolutely nothing wrong on social media, which just made everything worse. And then the Trident Formula 2 team put out a statement saying that they were very much in solidarity with Arjun Mani and that lawyers are going to be getting involved.
Mocking his accent. Okay, I didn't know that bit.
Yes, it was the that's the racism which I was on about, mocking.
Well, I mean, in fairness, one bit of information that leaked out about this whole thing was he was trying to get the FIA to allow him to run a
make
very political statements on his car. I say being very diplomatically here.
Yes, you can actually tell by the response the team got from the FIA that the person from the poor sod from Trident who had to write that clearly did not want to actually write it because they knew straight away that no, we're not going to be allowed to run this. No, we're not going to be allowed to run this. Oh, fine, if you insist, we'll write it anyway, but we probably won't be allowed to run this. Oh, we just got confirmation that we're not going to be allowed to run this. And yeah, the whole thing has just been a complete disaster. And then yesterday, an apology was written, which Ferrucci posted on his Twitter account. Judging by the way it was written, it was not written by him, but by his PR team, by the looks of things. And it's one of the most half-assed apologies I've ever seen.
You want to read out the apology there? Yeah.
Oh God, do we have a photo of it?
Oh, I will read it because I have it up.
Oh, okay. Please do.
This is from Santino Ferrucci, and it was posted on his social media accounts of. Actually, I think it was just on his Twitter, but
yes, it was just on.
It reads, "I want to send my sincerest apologies for my actions on Sunday at the FI F2 race at Silverstone Circuit. I used extremely poor judgment at the conclusion of the race, getting far too close to my teammate, Arjun, and swerved away only to graze his tire, very fortunately causing no damage or issue to his car. There was no intent, premeditation, or any type of retaliation by my actions, only anger and frustration, as this has been a horrific year. I have no excuse other than the fact that I am a 20-year-old Italian-American with deep passion for motorsport, which is very emotional sport. While there has been much provocation leading to my mental lapse, it is still not an excuse, and I will make sure that this does not happen again. I realize I have embarrassed many people, and I apologize to my sponsors, Trident, my fellow drivers, Haas F1, FIA, FIA F2, my fans, friends, and family. I also want to apologize to the FIA stewards for not being able to attend the hearing.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
I was randomly selected for a drug test, as were others, and this delayed my return to the paddock by over an hour. At that point, I very quickly packed and had to leave for the airport to catch an early afternoon flight back to the US to attend an extremely urgent, time-sensitive family medical issue. I was notified of the stewards meeting as I was leaving and did send an email to my team manager to forward to the stewards explaining that I had no options but to leave. Yes. Yeah, that was his rather mealy-mouthed statement.
Yes, I've actually got up on Wikipedia his career results.
Oh, go on then.
In 2014 in FIA Formula E, he came 19th in the championship, 24 points, but only done a part season. Because I think he was too young to start the season.
Going good so far.
2015, he got a second place finish at Spa. That was the only podium he actually scored all year, as he came 11th in the championship with 91 points. 2016, he moved up to GP3 and came 12th in the championship with 36 points. Got another podium at Spa, though, third. 27, driving for Dams. And then in 2017, he started the season in GP3 and scored 3 points, and then scored another 4 points in Formula 2. And then, as he came 22nd in the Formula 2 championship with 4 points. And so far this season, he's had a best result of 6th in Baku and is currently 18th in the championship on 7 points.
Of course he is.
Yes, this is going absolutely brilliantly. Actually, what we said about Trident, where was it? Trident Formula.
Surely his teammate's doing a hell of a lot better than he is, so, yeah.
Yes, I'm actually going to see if I can find the statement which Trident put on their Twitter.
All I know is F2 must be thrilled that they're getting all this exposure from such a poor displayed character.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, yes, I found their Twitter account. Founded in 2006.
Make you wonder.
Okay. So what Trident put on their Twitter,
right?
Trident intends to show their solidarity and support to Arjun Mani and his family for the unsportsmanlike and above all uncivilized behaviour that he was forced to endure, not only during this last weekend by Santino Ferrucci and his father who accompanied him. Contractual implications of what's happened will be dealt with by our lawyers. Never in these 12 years of sporting activity has anything even close to this ever occurred. We apologise for the show that we have regretfully offered. That's what they put on their Twitter account.
Well, there you go. Trident and Arjun Mane taking the high road there, and good for them on that front.
Yeah.
Keyword is might, but highly suspect there might be some legal action or just some asking for more money. But yeah, that moving past that horrible drama though. But
Yeah.
going into something more pleasant, that would be IMSA racing. From,
I do like it.
oh, who doesn't like a good bit of IMSA, really? And we'll start with the Salins 6 hours at the Glen. That happened just 2 weeks ago. And, or IMSA boy, as Dan says in the
IMSA? No, it's IMSA. It's not IMSA.
Yes, I know. Well, we'll start from the Glen on the 4th of July weekend. With many cars resplendent in beautiful 4th of July liveries.
Including United Autosport, I should mention.
Well, not really the 4th of July.
Oh, it was patriotic, though.
Sure.
All it was missing was Gareth Southgate, I think. But no, and I also think the photo of the cup of tea should have been made much more.
We first started off with the drama that unfolded in qualifying, which saw the number 54 Core Autosport Orca, Colin Braun, set the pole position, and that was the first pole for an LMP2 car, a WEC P2 car this season, and it was the first pole for Core, actually, overall pole position.
Yes, they got an extra point for that.
Put them in good stead for the race, really. The 67 Ford GT of Richard Westbrook was on GTLM pole, and the number 15 3GT Racing Lexus of Jack Hawksworth set a new track record in GTD of a 144.499, and that put the Lexi, how do you want to say it, in good stead for the race. And there was many news items to break overnight between the start of the race and qualifying. But first, we will start with the fact of the amazing rebuild of Oliver Jarvis's number 77 Mazda.
Oh, yeah.
Rene Rast did his best flipping impression there in practice in FP3. After colliding with Patrick Lindsay, which put both of them to the back of their respective grids, as they didn't qualify.
Yeah.
But they repaired it overnight and got the 77 back out on track. But the biggest news was not the 77. That came in the form of a new pole sitter. In the form of the number 32 United Autosports Ligier of Paul Di Resta. Because Core changed their starting driver from Colin Braun to John Bennett in a strategy move, so that moved the 54 to the back of the prototype grid. And also starting at the back of the prototypes was the number 22 Tequila Patron ESM Nissan for changing engines. More on that later.
Yes.
Yeah, so lots of change even before the race got started. And on that front. And, well, the drama didn't stop from that front either because, well, right from the green flag going into the S's, yet another crash happened. Following right on from last year's section.
Oh, dear.
And, it involved the Spirit of Daytona car. Again. with the unfortunate involvement of both ESM Nissans, actually. So, yeah, putting bad to worse for them.
As if it couldn't have got worse from where it was for.
They were involved in a spin, or the 90 was involved in a spin, and that took out the 2 and the 22, avoiding the incidents. And somehow the entire GT field missed the accident there, so I don't understand how they got away with that.
Yes.
But they somehow did, and that set up the wonderful strategy that was starting from the back for the 54, as John Bennett got to absorb most of his drive time under full course yellow conditions. And as a result, that got Colin Braun and Romain Dumas to have the most seat time as possible.
And when you've got two drivers of the caliber of Colin Braun and Romain Dumas in your car, yeah, that is what you're going to want to do, in fairness.
It's a brilliant strategy move that I don't actually know why no other team does, in fairness.
And you can see why they want to do it, though. They get the point for qualifying, get the, with all due respect to John, the slower of the two drivers out of get his drive time sorted out as quickly as possible, and then do the lion's share of the race with your uber fast professional drivers in the car afterwards.
Yes, and it's just the common sense thing to do, really. It's they're the only real pro-am lineup in
Goikberg's an am.
Well, I know the JDC guys are pro-am lineups, but they have pace regardless. I mean, no offense to John Bennett. He's a good am. He's a quick am, but the AMs
he's a very quick am.
Yes, the AMs that are in the JDC squad are more on terms of a traditional AM kind of pace. So, yeah. It makes sense for them to do that.
But when you've got, like you said, Alon and Goikberg, for AM drivers, proper AM drivers with day jobs away from being at a race circuit, they are super fast.
Yes, extremely fast. And more on them actually later, because they play a pivotal role in this race. But I don't actually know why some of the GTD teams don't deploy this strategy, because you think it would work if it would work well for them as well. But I think that's probably because there's more cars in GTD, as that doesn't happen. Actually, no, they have to start their AMs, don't they?
Do they?
I think they have to qualify their AMs or something like that. I'm not quite sure. I don't remember the exact wording, but yeah. If not, then someone should do that. Or try to do that anyway. But yeah, they would play a role in the outcome of the race in what looked like a WEC P2 kind of day, really, where no DPI could really challenge them other than the Orca-based Acuras, but even they didn't have the pace. And as a result, the aforementioned number 99 Red Dragon Orca 07 for JDC Miller Motorsports and Misha Goikberg, Steven Simpson, and Chris Mueller won the Salem 6 Hours of the Glen. And a remarkable recovery from actually not even a remarkable recovery, a remarkable three-wide pass going down into the bus stop.
That was something else.
That is, quite frankly, probably already just pass of the year, really, or just move of the year, however you want to phrase it. But yeah, sneaking by DPIs is a sneaky move. Yeah, if you can somehow get by Montoya, you're doing something right.
Well, then again, better power to weight ratio.
Oh well, probably. But well, that's probably plays into the fact how he lost second place as well. But the Red Dragon won, so that was the first time the Red Dragon colors were seen in an IMSA victory lane since what, COTA 2013? I think so. I believe it was COTA in 2013, but that was when they were still fielding the Corvette Daytona prototypes. That wasn't a Daytona prototype. Oh, that was on prototype. But yeah, moving past that. They were on top, and they recovered from last year's disappointment dealt to them by Action Express. This is also the first time Action Express hasn't won a race at Watkins Glen in the last 4 years.
Oh, wow.
Yes, because they won in the Daytona prototype era, and they also won
last year as well
with their Cadillacs. So yeah, and that puts to bed that streak. So yeah, actually no, first time they weren't on the podium either. So yeah, all sorts of streaks broken for them. Second was a whitewash for Orica chassis with the number 54 Core Autosports car of John Bennett, Colin Broad, and Rovan Zuma, recovering from starting dead last on the prototype field to have a podium position there, and barely taking second place over the number 6 Acura Team Penske Acura ARX-05 of Dane Cameron and Juan Pablo Montoya, who ran out of fuel coming to the checkered flag.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah,
not Penske perfect.
Well, they still got a podium, but they just came up short. It kind of stalled on him, and he slowed down momentarily to allow the 54 to get by. So nothing you could do on that front. But in GTLM, it was a masterful drive from the number 66 Ford Chip Ganassi Racing Ford GT, Joey Han and Dirk Miller, to take a victory. After having been nowhere in qualifying, he covered from that bit. Second was the number 3 Corvette, Jan Magnus and Antonio Garcia, and what should have been a dominant, probably actually no, very dominant position, the number 911 Porsche GT team, 911 RSR of Nick Tandy and Patrick Peeler brought home third and rounded out the GTLM podium. Very much a surprise winner in GTD, though, in the shape of the 96 Turner Motorsport BMW, with essentially, actually, pretty much an all-AM lineup minus the factory driver and Marcus Paltala.
Yes. I was going to say, Marcus Paltala's not really an AM driver with respect to him.
No, well, he's the only exception to the M's. That being Dylan McIvern and Don Yount, who McIvern being a young up-and-coming driver in the Continental Tire Challenge. So, yeah, Don Yount being a businessman. And actually having really good form in GT cars compared to how he was in prototype challenge cars.
Yeah, both done alright, they did.
And another bit of good news, though, the number 86 Myra Shank Racing with Curb Agajanian Acura of Catherine Legge and Alvaro Perez finished second. And that meant they finished ahead of the GTD point leaders in the number 48 Palmilla Racing Lamborghini of Brian Sellers and Madison Snow. So leaving Watkins Glen, Catherine Legge was only 1 point behind that duo. And got a reprieve to go to Canada with Sirius XM backing, thanks to their team ownership there. So that was another pin to stick in for the interest at coming into the weekend at the circuit formerly known as Mosport.
Is this in much the same way as the artist formerly known as Prince?
Yes, exactly. Thank you for getting that reference.
Just about old enough to know the reference.
Just about.
Yes, very much just about. And thanks to David Honnemeyer Hansen, I have some data on lap times.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Well, go on.
So, the driver who done the most laps, Jeroen Bleekemolen, is also actually actually, no, he didn't do the most laps, it's just he was the fastest in terms of 10-lap average.
Reading that chart correctly now. Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, that would be a good idea if I actually read it correctly, I was going to say. The driver who done the most laps was, Andy Lally in the Magnus Racing Audi. But,
he did the most laps?
78. John Potter done 29.
This is from Watkins Glen?
Mosport.
Ah, right. Well, John Potter did the most laps. Okay, well,
no, John Potter did and Andy Lally did.
Oh, okay, no, that makes sense now, because I was going to say Andy Lally, surely I must have been strapped in for the final hour of that race, as many cars as he passed.
Yeah, Lally showed good pace. Yeah, Carl Marcelli and Jack Hawksworth showed that Lexus actually got the car working now.
Well, in fairness, the Watkins Glen and I refuse to call it Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, so I'm going to call it Motorsport, is a track that works for the Lexus. So, yeah, they were expecting to do well there, and they did. Had pace all weekend long, really.
Actually, one driver who did have very strong pace all weekend long, Ben Keating.
Well, him and Jeroen Bleekemolen around that track, they just seem like a match made in heaven, really. First time they're back on the podium there, though, since they first won. Or not won, but since they first podiumed in 2014 at that track.
I mean, apart from Bleekemolen, Carl Marcelli and Jack Hawksworth, none of the other drivers could really hold a candle to those three. The fourth fastest driver was Jeff Siegel, and his 10-lap average was half a second slower than Hawksworth.
Wow, yeah, that's something.
Yeah. GTLM was very GTLM-like.
What, and in what form is that supposed to make any sense there, Rob? GTLM, very GTLM-like.
Yes, in that there was between the fastest driver over 10 laps, Nick Tandy, and the second slowest driver, Connor De Filippi, they were all covered by a second.
Now I see what you mean by that. Yes, okay.
Although John Edwards had issues with the 24 BMW, and thus his time was like 6 seconds slower than De Filippi.
Right.
But that's purely due to issues. And in prototype, basically all you need to know is there was one race between Dane Cameron and Colin Brown, and a race for everyone else.
Okay. Well, setting that up nicely, that we had the let's actually go back to start with qualifying here. Would you be surprised to say that Colin Braun was bolted into the 54 for qualifying there?
No, I would not be surprised at all, given that he is an immensely fast professional driver.
Would you also be surprised that he set a new track record there in the process?
No, because I think he really ought to be given a shot in an LMP1 car.
Yes, well, he bettered that track record time by, I think, almost 2 seconds.
And in other news, France have just gone through into the World Cup final.
Just to prove that we're live, yes.
Yeah, just to prove that we're live. The final score was 1-0. Some actually pretty flipping shambolic display there from France at the end. Not very sporting at all. Deliberately time wasting and getting in the way and everything else. Yeah, really not impressed by that at all.
Says the Brit, yes. Moving past that.
Football is coming.
No, shut up.
Not bad for something that started out as a joke.
Moving past you talking about football again.
Come on, Tottenham. Hey.
Moving past your stalling for time. The GTLM poll went to the 911 Porsche GT team. Nick Tandy at the wheel, 113.517. And, surprise, surprise, another repeat pole winner from Watkins Glen, and that would be the number 15 3GT Lexus of Jack Hawksworth.
Yes.
I think IMSA got their scripts all wrong. They got quite lazy and just copied and pasted. But,
it's one way of doing it.
Well, that's one way of making sure the drama is, consistent. They kept that there, and, well, actually, another thing to carry over from Watkins Glen, the same strategy of switching out drivers ensued there, as Colin Braun was put in place of John Bennett, or John Bennett was put in place of Colin Braun, and that resulted in them starting from the back of the field again. Could this time mean that they were going to win? We will find out in a minute. However, the start of the race was marred a bit because, well, the first two cautions ended up playing out from the same team, really. Yeah, Wright Motorsports not covering themselves in glory while they were running quite well early on. First, it was the number 16 Porsche 911 that went off at Moss Corner, and the number 58 was tipped into a spin by the 16 also at Moss Corner. Yeah, that wasn't the best of times there for them. However, that did allow V54 to gain time again and to rack up driving time for John Bennett. So that worked nicely on their front. They should be sending a very nice gift basket to the Wright guys for crashing into each other.
Oh dear.
On that front, yeah, it allowed them very nicely to have a caution that they needed to catch up. It wasn't exactly the best for them. However, the strangest incident of the race actually came from the fact that as the number 52 AFS PR1 Matheson Motorsports Ligier came in for a pit stop, a wheel wandered out of the pit lane, I think, and wandered up on track. And that ended up causing a full course yellow, to many people's dismay. Unless they lost the wheel coming into the pit lane, but that was
I think it might have been
clear.
coming into the pit lane.
Right, okay, that would make more sense. All I know is it came off the car in some form or fashion. The TV director really did seem to know what was happening. They were just showing the car. We're like, well, is that where the wheel fell off of? Or this phantom wheel has no owner. We don't know where it came from. But it's just sitting at the entrance to pit lane. Yeah.
Good souvenir, though.
Well, whichever Marshall picked it up. Yeah, make a good coffee table out of that.
Oh, absolutely. If I can get a Formula 3 Hankook tyre from Silverstone when I go there next month, I'll be quite pleased. It's just trying to work out how the hell I'm meant to get that thing back down to Basingstoke. But yeah,
a car maybe.
Well, we don't know how much. Well, first of all, we don't know what car we're taking, and second of all, we don't know that's going to have an impact on how much boot space there is.
Oh, right. Well, that's why you need a Michelin. It'll be entirely. You don't want a Hankook. You want a Michelin. It'll last forever.
Lost forever. Would it also with a Michelin, you could probably actually, or a Hankook, or indeed any tyre, you could probably plumb some hoses in and turn it into a beer fridge. I don't know. I'm just guessing.
Oh, okay. What are you saying from that reference there?
It can be used for something.
Right.
Recycling.
Okay.
No, upcycling. Either way.
Upcycling. There you go. Get your terms right, boy. But getting back to the bit there, the 52 had caused the third full course yellow, and that resulted in the number 63 Scuderia Corsa Ferrari getting a stop plus 60-second penalty for leaving the pits while the pit exit was closed. The 912 Porsche, which was leading, and was almost the dominant car of the race, actually, had a bit of trouble as it ran bizarrely into the side of the Ford under caution, and thus exploded the right rear tire for them. Yes, that was a very odd incident that happened there. I don't actually know why they decided to do that, but I guess they were catching up under the safety car period, but they just ran bizarrely into the left front of the Ford. So that cut down that tire in a fantastic fashion, and caused debris to be spilled on the back straight, and that obviously needed another full course yellow. So that put an end to the 912 having a say in who won a GTLM. The number 6 Acura Team Penske ARX-05 had trouble as well. As it was running second at the time, ran over some of the debris and had to pit for it to be replaced. And it also blew through the pit exit light, so that also gave it a stop and hold 60 seconds penalty.
And this was probably all down to the fact that Roger Penske and Tim Cindric were at Iowa. Hence why it was very much un-Penske perfect.
Very un-Penske perfect day for them.
Yes.
However, interestingly enough, speaking about the IndyCar, we'll get to after this, the Kyle Moyer was actually not on the box for Simone Pagenaud this weekend, as he was on IMSA duties. So that's interesting, as I didn't know he was splitting the two. Yeah, just as an aside.
As another aside as well regarding Penske, Dane Cameron and Jordan Taylor, their track knowledge at CTMP did come in quite handy.
Well, yeah, track knowledge is very key there.
I mean, Montoya, he's topped his 10, the average of his 10 fastest 10 lap average was 2 seconds slower than John Bennett.
Was it really?
Yeah, John Bennett's 10 lap average was 70.807 seconds. Montoya's was 72.251. Helio Castroneves 69.519. Jordan Taylor 68.468 and Dane Cameron 67.944.
Interesting.
The driver with the slowest 10 lap average was Pippo Durrani with 171.014. But then again, that car didn't really last all that long. Sadly.
Yes, it was another bad week for the Tequila Petroni SM guys. Sorry, Dan, but we're gonna mention bad luck.
Sorry, Dan.
Another turbo problem for them. And what was their third engine change in a week? Which ultimately ended in them actually only fielding one car, which was D22 for Pipo Derani and Brian Dial, just combining their two pro drivers into one car. And they only ran 45 laps, sadly. So, the Nismo guys and the ESM guys are going to be glad that the next race isn't until August, because, they're going to need it to rebuild their engine stock there. Find out why their turbos keep breaking, actually, in fairness. However, they were fortunate enough to make the race, unlike the Performance Tech guys, who had another big crash in the span of 2 weeks. Yeah.
In fact, David Holme Hansen also mentioned that he only did a top 10 average because of the massive amount of time spent under yellow, under full course cautions and restarts.
Well, that's fair enough. Probably sure. But like I mentioned, the Performance Tech guys didn't get to start the race because they crashed out in P2? No, P1. It was either FP2 or FP1. But they crashed out heavily in practice, and they didn't have enough spares. So after having just rebuilt the car from the crash at the Glen, they decided to just withdraw their entry. So they're not having a good time either. This also comes on the back that the number 90 wasn't running at Sport either. So the prototype field was a bit small. It was only a 11 car field. Well, 12 car field actually. But still, that didn't detract from the quality there. Just missing a couple of cars. Another car actually that was missing from the field was the number 75 Sun Energy 1 Mercedes. As that team has been withdrawn, I think, from the season now.
Sorry, which team's been withdrawn?
The number 75 Sun Energy 1 Racing Mercedes.
I thought that was only for Mosport.
Well, they have withdrawn from their participation with Riley. So, there's no signs on them coming back with another team. So, as far as I had read on that front, Riley says that we'll have a second car, but they don't say with whom in it, and it doesn't seem like it's going to be the Sun Energy guys. Maybe it will, I don't know. But from the report that was written about it, they seemed to be... their partnership has seemed to have come to an end.
Interesting.
Yes. But yeah, that's just doing some housekeeping on the side there. But some guys had a very, very bad day with mechanical troubles. Continuing on with mechanical troubles, actually. The 911 Porsche, the pulsating GTLM car, was battling rough with the number 24 BMW M8 GTE of... actually, who was at the car at the time? Don't actually know who was in the car at that time. It was Jesse Crone, I think, who was running at that time. But he was run into by the 911, and that caused the 24 to go off and break its suspension, or its right rear suspension. So that put that car out on the out of the race, and there was no further action for there. And also, ironically enough, in another Porsche on BMW crash, it involved the once again the Wright Motorsports Porsche, and sadly the number 96 Turner BMW of Bill Oberlin, which put out that car as well. Ended up the 58 ended up hitting the 96, and that put out the car with another suspension failure. So, yeah, Porsches and BMWs not getting along for a while there. As well as the continued dramas for the number 6 Acura, where Montoya was put in the car with 30 minutes to run, and, well, 3 wheels were on that wagon, and,
That's not good.
No, you especially don't want your left front wheel falling off at Moss Corner.
Oh no.
Yes, it's not a very good spot for a tire to fall off. If I had to pick a corner, that wouldn't be my first one.
Turn 2 would be my least favourite corner to have a tyre fall off.
Yeah, probably not the best idea, really. But yeah, 3 wheels were on his wagon, and he had to roll around the pits after that for... which actually was quite fortunate, because this led into a key moment of the GTLM battle, which was the fact that Montoya's loose tire brought out a full course yellow. But just as the full course yellow was about to come out, the Ford Chip Ganassi guys brought in Richard Westbrook.
Oh, that was a strategy call and a half.
In an amazing piece of strategy that allowed them to dive in for fuel and left side tires, literally as the pits were closed.
Yeah.
Yes, and that put them out front, and actually, when they came out of the pits, came out directly behind the safety car, so they got a massive advantage in front of the other GTLM cars as a result of that. So, you don't need pace if you can be very lucky.
No. Oh, I mean, that was one of the best pit calls I've seen all year, and later on we'll be talking about one of the worst.
One of the more questionable ones, yes, throwing away a surefire podium position with it, yes.
Yes.
For a car that was quite dominant. But anyway, getting back to IMSA. Yeah, the loose wheel for the Acura brought out a full course yellow, which allowed the Chip Ganassi guys to bring in their leading charge. And that was how the GTLM battle would settle out. But unfortunately, it was not the final full course yellow. That belonged to, unfortunately, the rebuilt car of... actually, no, the car of Harry Ticknell in the number 55? No. Was it 55? Yes, the number 55 Mazda RT24P. Unfortunately, had a wheel bearing failure. Throw the Englishman into the gravel trap at Moss Corner to bring out the final full course yellow, and that retired the car on the spot. This is unfortunate, as this car in the hands of Jonathan Bomarino was as high as 3rd, so yeah, the Mazda guys having another bad day. But they're no fault of their own. They had the pace, but keep finding those little mechanical gremlins that keep striking them.
Yes, it was definitely an interesting cover from London.
Yes, because you were on the comms there, or rather, making the comms come over the airwaves.
Yes, and making sure everything was working.
Yes. Unfortunately, you couldn't do anything about the IMSA stream, because that was an abomination, as per usual.
The IMSA TV stream, or?
The IMSA TV stream. The IMSA radio stream's top-notch, as usual, but
thank you.
Yeah, the IMSA TV was just garbage. And, well, I couldn't watch on TV, because thanks to Fox's ineptitude, it was tape delayed right when the race finished. Yeah.
You realise we're talking about Fox here. That does not actually surprise me.
Yeah. Well,
the words Fox and ineptitude being used in the same sentence. And I'm just glad it's going to be on NBC next year.
Yes, well, everything will work, and they'll have a working app that doesn't tape delay live coverage. Even Fox Sports' app was tape delayed. Why? What is the point? But anyway, getting past that.
So the app was tape delayed?
Yes, the Fox Sports Go app, the only thing you can watch without a VPN, you watch that. That's where you get the live coverage online for the IMSA races. However, in their grand mental thinking that they had, you couldn't watch the race live, but you could watch the tape delayed coverage that was happening live on FS1. It makes no sense. I don't understand the point of that. But that's how they have that set out.
That makes... I'll tell you what, do you know what that is? Oh, it didn't work.
Oh, what? Oh dear, he's pulled the fire alarm.
No,
Yeah.
it's bullshit. Yes.
Yeah, that is absolute bullshit. But that's how that works. And actually, the caution was consequential in the fact that allowed the 54 for Autosports Orca to get past a brilliant move with 8 minutes left in the race to get past the number 10 Wayne Taylor Racing Cadillac to claim the win because the number 10 was backing off, I think, for that caution. So that allowed them to get around them. And Colin Braun and John Bennett took home a win for Core Autosport, their first win in the prototype class. And it's a back-to-back win for the Orca chassis and for WEC P2 cars in IMSA. Making it a Cadillac 2-3 was the aforementioned number 10 Cadillac DPR VR for Renger van der Zande and Jordan Taylor finally showing themselves on the podium for this season. And rounding out the podium was the number 31 Whelen Engineering Cadillac DPR VR of Eric Kern and Felipe Nazar, who now take the point lead coming out of Canada. In GTLM, it was the number 67 for GT of Richard Westbrook and Ryan Briscoe after their brilliant timing. And second and third were the Corvette Racing cars, the number 3 being second for Jan Magnussen and Antonio Garcia. And the number 4 of Oliver Gavin Todd Miller was third, so it was an All-American podium on the week after 4th of July, so that works out brilliantly.
Yes.
And,
also, what you can say?
No, go on.
I'll say, I have news that Park Place Motorsport are going to be at Road America.
Well, that's their home race, so that would surprise me that they weren't there, in fairness.
Yep, they've added Road America to their WeatherTech Sports Car Championship program, while Patrick Lindsay and Jörg Bergmeister are doing what was just the North American Endurance Cup, alongside their full season WEC commitments.
Right, okay, that's good news for them then. Should be quick then as well.
Yeah, podium last couple of years there.
Well, yeah, Jörg Bergmeister in a Porsche around Road America. Isn't exactly the dumbest idea, yeah.
Exactly.
But rounding out the standings, or the results rather, in GTD it was a dominant performance from the number 14 3GT Lexus for most of the race. However, with the waning minutes of the race, Jeroen Bleekmolen allowed, or a late race mistake by the Lexus allowed Jeroen Bleekmolen to go by and take the win for the number 33 Mercedes-AMG Team Riley Motorsports car for himself and Ben Keaton. So that marked the, believe it or not, their first win of the season for those guys. So Canada suits them well, and that car well, it would seem. But they won, and second was the number 14 for Dominic Baumann and Kyle Marcelli. And third, in a stellar drive from the back of the pack, was the number 44 Magnus Racing Audi RA LMS for John Potter and Andy Lally. Andy Lally being in for like the last hour and a half of that race. Yeah, very stellar driving from Andy Lally. But then again, what would you expect, really? That's kind of what you want out of him. But that was the results from Canada. Brian Sellers and Madison Snow were fourth for the number 48 Lamborghini. I think that was the first time they weren't on the podium. Also the first time that Catherine Legg and Alvaro Parent weren't on they weren't on the podium as well. So the point battle in GTD continues to be between Brian Sellers and Madison Snow. Catherine Legg takes 3 points coming into Road America, and it was a single point coming out of that, but now it's back out to 3 points. So we will see how that turns out in a month's time, and if Catherine Legg's in the car again. So yeah, fingers crossed for that to happen.
Yeah, same here.
But now we go from IMSA racing to the cornfields of Iowa for Indycar.
Absolutely. The state where Slipknot are from.
Are they really? I wouldn't know.
Yeah, Des Moines, Iowa.
Yeah. Really? Okay. Well, that explains why they make metal music then. Yeah. If I was in Iowa, I'd go a bit crazy myself. So yeah. But in qualifying, it was the Team Penske cars that had all the pace, with Will Power claiming his 52nd career pole, and is now just one behind AJ Foyt for second in all-time poles. And Joseph Newgarden made it a Team Penske front row by being second. Scott Dixon, who's the current point leader, was starting sixth. And coming into the race, it was Will Power led for a bit, but he was passed very early on by Joseph Newgarden. But that didn't last, actually. After dominating almost the entirety of the race, he was passed by a very unsuspecting car you wouldn't actually imagine, because he had pace as well, and that would be one Mr. Hinchcliffe of Canada.
The one Mr. J. Hinchcliffe, the mayor of Hinchtown. Yes,
Hinch, the mayor of Hinchtown, James Hinchcliffe, who would sneak by Joseph Newgarden with about 44 laps to go. He caught Newgarden and made the pass on him in traffic and pulled away as Newgarden had started to falter with his pace, thanks to a late race caution. Zach Beach, however, was the only... actually, no, how many cautions? There were 2 cautions, right? Yes, there were 2 cautions.
There was one right at the very end.
The first caution coming on lap 139 for poor old Zach Veach, who was having a decent day, again, before trouble struck him. And the one that came right at the end was Ed Carpenter spinning in turn 4, spinning into Takuma Sato, who would also have a brilliant day in Iowa. So the race was pretty much dominated, like I said, by Joseph Newgarden, who led. Let's see here. He led 229 laps to Will Power's opening 23 of the race. Yeah, to give you a sense of how dominant Joseph Newgarden was on the day. that's where that ended up, really. But a well-deserved winner in Hinchcliffe, but that was due to the fact that there was some confusion due to the late race caution that came out, thanks to Ed Carpenter. Yeah, would you like to describe the very strange pit strategy that Joseph Newgarden employed there?
Yeah. Right, so there was a late full course caution because of the Ed Carpenter incident where he was actually straightened out rather helpfully by Takuma Sato. And there was only a handful of laps left to go, so it was a case of do you pit, do you not pit? And of course, Iowa being 7/8 of a mile, very short circuit, so they were doing the laps under the safety car, and of course time was of the essence, and then the pit lane opened, so the drivers on the lead lap were allowed to pit, and Newgarden was one of them. And then he went down the field, and then at that point everyone realised that no, that was a bad idea, because they probably aren't going to be restarting this. And no, the race finished behind, with the race winner being whoever the hell was driving the Corvette safety car.
Of course, yes. Whoever the hell was in the safety car. So it wasn't Mark Royce then, because clearly it finished.
Well, absolutely. If it was Mark Royce, that car would have gotten loose and then snapped up the high groove into the wall.
Yeah,
actually,
that was Go on.
So I was going to say, actually, come to think of it, it wouldn't have done that. It would have got loose on the high groove, and then instead of going into the wall up high, it would have gone back down low and then into the wall.
Yes, as a oval does. Yes, but 6 laps remaining as the caution with Ed Carpenter, who got sideways and clipped Takuma Sato, which caused a bit of debris on the track, which had to bring up full course yellow. However, as Rob mentioned, for some reason, the pit strategy call was, did they come in for a late race duel between the cars, and Hinchcliffe stayed out, as did most front runners, because they weren't going to risk it. So that brought Newgarden in, and so did Robert Wickens. He came in as well. For some reason, but then again, Robert Wickens was actually not battling for much. He was, well, actually, no, he was challenging for podium, but he was a little bit farther behind Hinch, so he wasn't really in the fight, so to speak. But he came in with Newgarden for what they were expecting to be a final dash to the finish. But thanks to how small the track was, there was no way they were going to restart in time, so the race finished under caution, and as a result, Hinch came home for his first win since Long Beach of last year, and actually the first win, remarkably actually the first win for the Schmidt-Peterson guys after the complete and utter domination shown by Robert Wickens at times. The team as a whole finally got a win. So that was good news for the Schmidt-Peterson guys. However, the best news probably came in the form of one Spencer Pigot and Ed Carpenter Racing, who ironically benefited from his own teammates' demise. Yeah, so to speak.
Boss's demise.
Yeah, sense. Spencer Pigot came home second, his best career finish, his best finish of the season, riding off momentum from his last time out at Road America. And Takuma Sato, who actually had no damage from being clipped by Ed Carpenter, to come home third. So it was very from a race that everyone thought was, oh, this is going to be boring and terrible, and Newgarden's going to run away with it, to, well, I didn't see that one coming. That was a bit surprising. Yeah.
Yes, and I have some news on Rahal Letterman Lanigan Racing. Actually,
before you get to that.
Also.
There were 950 passes reported for the race that day. So, yeah, don't say there wasn't any action happening, because there was plenty of passing. So
just goes to show that the new aero kits are actually doing what they were designed to do, i.e. work.
i.e. work and create closer racing, yeah. It was a bad day for Scott Dixon, as he would end up finishing well down the order, actually, in 12th. 4 laps down. He just did not have the pace today. So that actually cut his lead in half. And so Joseph Newgard moves up to second in points, who's now just 33 behind Scott Dixon. So the points race is tightening up as well. So everything's looking up roses so far. But the race was enjoyable. I liked it. It was interesting throughout. But then again,
So I was gonna say, yeah, it was a bloody good race, I thought.
Yeah, it's never go wrong with Iowa short track racing. Yeah, but the thing they definitely need to, exactly, that's the point I was going to mention. The thing they need to do for next season, and Robin Miller has said that this is probably going to happen because the track promoter has been pushing for it to happen. They need to go back to putting the Iowa Indycar race back on a Saturday night in an area that will flock to IndyCar racing because it has the proven track record there. It needs to be on a Saturday night under the lights where the temperatures are cooler and the racing will be closer. That's what Iowa needs to be. It needs to be a Saturday night short track race. That
proper
needs to happen.
Traditional Saturday night short track.
Absolutely. That's what they need to bring back for next season if they want people to watch again.
Because from memory, Richmond was a short track Saturday night show as well.
Well, yes, it was, but Richmond's a different animal.
Yeah, because the one thing which surprised me was that even in the very early stages of the race, they actually had a second groove already working.
Well, yes, they had the trucks on there for beforehand, so they needed to get that grooved in, so that's what they worked on entirely. So yeah, for once they actually had a second groove of racing,
and it paid off clearly.
Yes, it clearly did because passing happened. Behind Takuma Sato was Joseph Newgarden. Robert Wickens was 5th after he and Newgarden came into the pits. Will Power was 6th after starting on pole, fading back early on in the race. Graham Rahal was 7th, Simone Pagenaud 8th, like I mentioned earlier, his engineer not being there with him because he was on IMSA duty. Alexander Rossi was 9th, Ed Carpenter rebounded from his incident to be 10th, and just outside the top 10 was good old Seabass and Scott Dixon, like I mentioned.
The French fry part of the hamburger and French fry show.
Fry show, yes.
Yes.
But some news items that came out recently, actually, just last night, and literally about what was this? Almost an hour ago. Concerning Indycars, that's you can add another team to an influx of teams racing sports cars who want to be in Indycars.
We've had Scuderia Corsa and now we're getting Dragon Speed.
Yes, for a partial Indy program for next season.
In there. Yes.
So IndyCar racing is burgeoning with the growth of sports car racing, it seems. Yeah.
Yes, and in Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan are inching closer as well, they say, to running a third car full season.
Yes. So the question is, whom is in that car to join Graham Rahal? Yeah.
And potentially Sate.
Well, I'm pretty sure Takuma Sato's signed up as well. I don't see him leaving anywhere soon, especially since he has results on his side now. I think they're pretty happy with each other. Maybe it will be a potential partnership with George Stenbrenner, who is George Stenbrenner the 4th, rather, who is the grandson of the ex-owner of the Yankees in the Major League Baseball.
So like cricket, but not quite as good then.
Yeah, more money.
I'm not going to doubt that fact.
More money in baseball, I think I'll find. Yeah.
More money by a factor of about 10, probably.
Yes. Yeah, I would say probably about 50. Yeah.
Yeah.
Colton Herta being potentially floated there, as well as Pato Ward, who is currently the Indy Lights point leader. So we will see who gets to go in there. Yeah, all good news for IndyCar at the moment. So North American racing is where it's at if you want to see positive news, it seems.
Yes, IndyCar and IMSA are doing, well, very, very well indeed.
Yes. Yeah, that's that about covers that I had written down. Yes, you had some more news. Actually, no, there was some news that came out over the past couple of weeks concerning ACO series. And that would be the addition of a new manufacturer for the WEC when they come to Shanghai in November.
Ah, yes, the Corvette. I think we mentioned that, did we?
It's hard to remember the last time we were on, so...
yeah, that was 2 weeks ago. There was also a Super GT round in that time as well, which was awfully good if you haven't watched it.
Yes, please watch the Super GT. It was worth it.
Yes.
Even though it was at Thailand, which is surprising, because I really don't like that track. It's cookie cutter at best, but still provides some good racing. Yeah, Corvette Racing will join the GTE Pro field for the 6 Hours of Shanghai in November. So that would be the first time a factory Corvette will be racing in Asia. And of course, the backing for that will come from Chevrolet Shanghai GM, and it will be in a special red line livery. A potential entry into the 1,000-mile WC race at Sebring is also under consideration as well. So, yeah. The ACO getting their way about pushing Corvette to doing more WEC races, I think, there is what you need to see with that potential news. The Asian Le Mans Series actually announced entries as well. For some really good news for that series that needs good news like it needs oxygen, really.
Oh, it has been getting a lot of good news lately.
Yes, in the form that United Autosports will have 4 cars entered into the 2018-19 season.
Yes.
2 Ligier JSP2s that are being rented from Onrook Automotive and the LMP2 class, and 2 Ligier JSP3s for the LMP3 class. Also, Acudia Koss Nielsen Racing will be running a pair of Ligier P3s in the LMP3 class for the full season, and Eurasia Motorsport will come back to the Asian Le Mans Series with a Ligier JSP2 and a Ligier JSP3 and LMP3 for Nobuya Yamanaka and Aiden Reed in the LMP3 class. So, yeah, already a full amount of prototypes for that series in which they were struggling for entries last season. So hopefully they stay around for the foreseeable future in that regard. Hopefully the GT numbers can match that, and we'll have a pretty decent grid at what is a pretty decent TV package for a series that really struggles for entries at most times.
Yeah. I mean, it's good to see the finally, after all this time, actually having something stable in the Asian continent. As there was the Japan Le Mans Challenge, I think, from the mid-2000s. So that where they had
going a long way back, yeah.
Yeah, where they had 2 500-kilometer races at Okayama. I think they had a race at Fuji, and possibly even a race at Sugo, but I can't remember off the top of my head.
Right. Did they really race at Sugo? I didn't know that.
And either way, it was dominated by the works Pescarolo of Shinji Nakano, and I think it might have been Christoph Tinso alongside him.
Possibly, yes. That's going away the long way back. But yeah, the Asian Series momentum on this side, and should be interesting to see how much they can have because they have GTE cars now actually allowed in because entry lists that have been floating around have shown the AAI guys running a pair of M6 GTE cars, which I found a bit interesting.
So who M6 GTEs?
Yes, which I found interesting because I was like, I didn't know they made extra cars. Yeah,
Because the old Z4 GTLM car, we did have race over here for one season in Europe in the European Le Mans series when Mark VDS ran it, but they were allowed to run it by the ACO, but the condition was the ACO said to them, "Okay, we'll let you run this car, which ain't homologated in your Le Mans series, on the condition that you don't apply to race at Le Mans."
Yes, this is true.
So I'm wondering if was it Team AAI you said?
Yes, but
Right,
I don't know if there's any truth to that. I've just seen them on potential entries.
Okay, so if that did happen, I think AAI would be under the same, possibly, restrictions as what Mark VDS were about 4 years ago now.
Which wouldn't surprise me though, because they wouldn't get an entry into automatic entry into Le Mans because they would have to win the series, I think, because the GT classes have cut down because they wanted to make room for Pro-Am teams in LMP2 in the Asian Le Mans series. So maybe that's not a consideration that bothers them. Who knows? All I know is I've seen them being entered down as potential entrants in GTE. But if they were to take the plunge, that means they would only need 2 more GTE cars to join them for it to be an actual class. So, yeah.
Wow. I mean, with Asian Le Mans, I was going to say, we might see, would there be much of a chance of Clearwater perhaps entering a 488?
Well, they have plenty in their stable. I still think they have the 650S GT3 in their care.
Oh, that looks awesome, that car did.
Well, all Clearwater cars are wonderful in their liveries.
All Clearwater cars are so damn photogenic as well.
Yeah, I know they are, yeah. They're one of the teams that understand how to make a livery. But they have a couple of cars, I think. I don't know if the car that they run in WEC is actually their own car, or if it's an Air Corsa car that they run under the guise of their own team. That's the bit I don't know. Because if they had that car, then I guess technically they could run. It would definitely be interesting, because they definitely need to have actual GTE cars running in that series, but yeah, they've opened it up to all sorts of things. Porsche Cup cars, Lamborghini Super Trofeos, Ferrari Challenge cars, GT4 cars now, GTE cars, of course, to go with the standard GT3 cars. It's an amalgamation of all the rainbow of GT cars in Asian Le Mans for next season. So we shall see how many bite and actually form different classes.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to keep an eye on, though.
For sure, it will. And the TV package will be decent because it'll be live streaming with Graham Goodwin on the comms, I think.
Excellent.
Like he was for this season. So, yeah. That will be definitely interesting. So, yeah, we've run through our bit of information yet, Sam. I think that's all the news that we have time for, actually, because you actually have to be someplace.
Yes, I do later tonight, so yes, I'm doing an airport run with my dad. Yeah, we're going to be leaving fairly soon.
Oh, well, all right. I will let you get on your way, sir. And I
no. There's still loads of time. Still well over half an hour before I'm due to head off.
Well, yeah, get busy to depart then. But yeah, I don't think there's much more to talk about here today. So yeah,
there is Formula E this weekend, the title decider.
Oh yes, rather quickly do that. Yes, I forgot to do calendars of my ineptitude from not being on here for so long. So yes, Formula E.
In Brooklyn, New York.
Of course. The boring place of Brooklyn. Yes.
They've altered the circuit for this year. In fairness, they have made it a bit longer this year. So the right-hand hairpin at turn 6 is actually a left-hander now. There's a new loops section added, and then a longer straight leading into what was turn 2, I think, and now.
I can't decipher it.
Leading into
I've seen the map, but yeah.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, sorry, 11 rather. The start-finish line has been moved nearer the pits, so it's now on the other side of the circuit. Yeah, it should be quite interesting to see who wins out of Jean-Eric Vergne and Sam Bird, because Bird he won both races last year in Brooklyn, so it's going to be. That does add an element of, well, psychologically, you do get a lot more confidence given that, well, he's still the only winner. Then again, Vergne this season has been incredibly consistent.
Yes, right.
In his results, so it's going to be pretty interesting, I think.
Well, interesting is a interesting word to use there, because I don't think it's going to be interesting. I think it's going to be follow the leader, but we will see.
There does look to be some good overtaking spots, though. Turn 6, turn 11, mainly. Oh, yeah, and the turn 3-4 chicane last year, well, back then was turn 8, turn 9, made a lot faster for this year as well.
Well, I hope it does some spicing up of the racing, for sure. Yeah. I'm reserving judgment, really. We'll see how well that works out. But yeah, the title decider doubleheader round New York is this weekend, as is Indycar from the streets of Toronto. So that's going to be interesting to watch as well as the obligatory NASCAR. But yeah, that's what's happening this weekend. So yes, we will see you next time with the recap of those things. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and yes.
And smash that like button, please.
Please, yes. And subscribe and all that good stuff.
Yes.
All right. Yes.
Smash that like button. If we get to 4 likes, I won't bother singing at the end of this podcast.
Well, I mean, we're ending right now, so your time is up already. So
yes, I might have to sing. So things in ears, everyone.
No, you're just gonna end this quickly. That was Rob.
Yep.
And I am once again Forzar18, and thanks for listening, guys. Hope you enjoyed.
All right. Bye.